Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to another episode of Immigrant Success Stories by Amir Ismail and Associate. My name is Amir Ismail, and I am an authorized citizenship and immigration practitioner based in Toronto, Canada. In my 28 years of immigration practice and having assisted more than 25,000 people in making Canada their home, majority of my clients have been young professionals who came to Canada to enhance their education, polish their skills, and make their mark in their respective fields. We are pleased to have another similar individual with us tonight. Mr. Wajid Ali is a young professional engineer based in Toronto, Canada, who immigrated to Canada in fall 2015. He holds a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering from Northwest Frontier Province University of Engineering and Technology and possesses 12 years of commendable work experience working internationally in the field of power industry. He has worked for renowned companies such as General Electric in Canada. He's currently working as an account manager in a multinational organization in the province of Ontario. As any other immigrant, Wajid also went through the transition phase, but he was determined that he will get a job in his field, and he had clear strategy in his mind about finding his desired job. Today, we will ask him the problems, obstacles, barriers, and success he experienced after immigrating to Canada. So you may be able to benefit from those, and we will also ask him to provide insight into job market and mistakes prospective immigrants, especially engineers, could avoid to enable their transition into Canadian society swiftly. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Wajid Ali. Hi, Wajid. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Amir. It's an honor to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me.
Pleasure is all mine. And we do it for our viewers who are prospective immigrants. They have their questions, their concerns about establishing, and we invite those who have seen it, experienced it, and are now making their mark in this great country. So let's start with a brief introduction. I tried to give it to my audience, but let it come from you as well.
Well, you did a great job about the intro. Thanks. So as you said, rightly said, I have a Master of Science in Engineering, Electrical Engineering, in fact. I did my graduation from Pakistan, from the KPK province. Now it's called KPK,
Right.
from the Engineering University. Back in 2006, worked for a few years in Middle East, and then I moved to Canada back in 2015. I worked so I have like over 12, 13 years of experience in the field of electrical engineering, and almost 3.5 years to 4 years of working experience in Canada now. I will try my best to answer your questions and to satisfy the viewers.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So, the first question I would like to ask is about your profession. And I understand that it's a regulated occupation in Canada. So, all those engineers who are interested in coming to Canada, they might want to hear from you as to what is involved in terms of getting recognition as professional engineers. And you have that title. So, I understand you would only be able to work, even though you might have professional qualification from back home. You might have the professional engineering title with you, but when you come to this country, you are required to undergo further training or exams to be recognized. So tell us about the procedure involved in it and how difficult it is, if at all. Although I understand there is nothing difficult for engineers, but yeah.
Thanks, Amir. That's a good question. In fact, you're absolutely right. Engineering in Canada is certified and registered professional.
Right.
You need to get a certification while working in any engineering sector in Canada. However, there are opportunities where they don't need they won't need mandatory certification or certified engineering title. Um, but to answer your question, there are two streams. One is if you're working in a design sector, or we're doing some design or calculations,
Yes.
and that you need to have an engineering title, a professional engineering title or stamp with you.
Right.
For that, you have to go through a process. If you're working in any province, every province has their own engineering bodies. Ontario have their own PEO. Alberta has their APEGA, and other provinces have their own. So any engineer has to go through that process. That process takes almost a year to 2 year time. I would recommend if any engineering professional is applying for immigration to Canada, he can start that process while he's in his home country. Um, like international applicant or a foreign applicant, he can start the process, and once he get his immigration and he lands to in Canada, he can transfer his status from foreign applicant to a resident applicant. That will save him some time while he's sitting in his home country. He can utilize that time while he's waiting for an immigration case to process, and he can utilize that time with getting his PH title as well. It's not impossible. It's definitely a possibility. However, every profession or every province have their own set of rules, and engineer have has to satisfy those rules. Um, all the information are available on the websites of all those bodies, and it's pretty easy to navigate through. I believe any engineering professional could easily go through those information and can successfully get a license or a title.
Right. So, on that note, I understand, of course, it's a regulated occupation, and the provincial authorities are responsible for licensing engineers. Any profession in Canada that involves human lives, including engineers, is a regulated occupation. So, basically, you have to do that. But what is the scope of engineers? And I think it would be a very general question because there are so many
Mhm.
technologies,
Yeah,
and there are various kinds of engineers, civil engineers, electrical engineers like yourself, and
correct.
even in electrical engineer there are different subcategories.
That's right.
So let's talk about specific to your technology. If an electrical engineer wishes to come to Canada, what scope he's looking at in terms of finding a job, and how quickly would that be?
Yeah, so it's specifically to first I will try to answer the generic engineering discipline. As you said, there are multiple engineering disciplines. Electrical is one of them, but generically speaking, engineering profession or engineering opportunities in Canada are widely available.
Right.
There is a myth that I call it a myth because I've been through this process. There's a myth that engineers coming from foreign countries they are not treated well, or there is racism or those factors. But I don't believe in these things. If you are determined and if you believe in your abilities and you work hard, you have a self determination. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities, and you have seen, and I have seen, there are thousands, and I would say more than thousands of foreign professionals, foreign qualified professionals
Yes.
working in the field of engineering and medicine both. So I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. The only thing is how determined you are and how hard and how hard you put your efforts into. You will get the job. I have seen a lot of my friends and colleagues, coworkers. Uh, the minimum time you need to keep in your mind would be uh, somewhere between 3 to 6 months to get a job. For that 3 to 6 months, you need to plan how you will be living your life and that transition period. LinkedIn is a good tool. You can utilize that as making your, connections within your industry,
Right.
and you can rely on those connections. So that was a generic question about electrical field. As I said, it's the same thing. There are a lot of opportunities in the market. across all provinces. Ontario, no doubt, is the biggest province in terms of market and industry. But then you have oil and gas in Alberta, which is a great platform for any mechanical, civil, geoscience, and those kind of disciplines from engineering. Um, yeah, I believe this answers your question, or if you're more, I'll be happily answering
Sure.
those.
Sure. So yeah, so basically we know that science can amuse and fascinate us all, but it's engineering that
Yeah,
changes the world. So
that's right.
engineers, they do enjoy that status, and they have actually transformed our world all the time.
That's
So
right.
um, you came to Canada with a master's degree in engineering, and there are a
Yeah,
lot of engineers who come with a BE, and
yeah,
they opt for going for a master's MS degree in
that's right.
Canada. I'm not too sure about your own educational plan because you already have an MS, but
Yeah.
do you recommend people to go for upgrading of their qualification, or they could be as successful as you are without a Canadian degree under your belt?
Um, that's a very good question, and I will try to answer to the best of my knowledge.
Sure.
Um, as I said, you will hear different or multiple opinions from
Right.
various people who has gone through these processes. Um, it depends on how experienced you are. If an engineer is coming with a year to 2 years of experience under his belt, and
Right.
he has a BE, I would strongly, if he has an opportunity, if he sees an opportunity of getting a master degree from Canada, that definitely is a very plus point and will enhance his education, his skills, his language skills will help him um, making connection in his field as well,
Sure.
and will give him more potential of landing a good job opportunity. So that is for those engineers who are having, I would say, 2 to 3 years of experience under their belt. But if a person is coming with already having, let's say, somewhere between 5 to 10 years of experience, um, even a simple BE degree, he can still apply for PH title. He can start that process first. Under 10 years of engineers who are under 10 years, they will be getting a title called as engineers in training, EIT.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and once they complete a training period, like that's a year, 1 year period, then they might need to go through kind of an exam,
Right.
which is a 1 day online exam, and then if they are qualified, they will get a professional engineering title.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So
So,
wonderful, wonderful advice and good guideline for people who are
yeah,
coming in with a BE or a master's, or if they already have good experience. So it's encouraging to know, coming right
yeah,
straight from an engineer himself, that they
right.
might be able to hit the ground running even without
Yeah,
upgrading their qualifications. But if you do have the opportunity to improve, and if you are in a position to set aside some time to get a
right.
degree, no, you can of course consider that option. But on that note, a lot of people, they come here with limited financial resources.
Right.
They come here with limited access to their funds, and they don't
Yeah,
have a job when they arrive here.
yeah,
And especially if they are in a regulated occupation, so they understand they might have to wait a little while before
right.
they land a job. So
Right.
what do these people do? Because one way of going about is perhaps going for survival jobs while you're searching for job, or perhaps upgrading your qualifications, so to endeavor to secure professional engineering status. So going into a survival job, sometimes dead end job, would you recommend people to do that? And if they have limited financial resources, how do they then survive if they run out of their cash?
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand.
Mhm.
Totally understand what you're saying. I have been through that process. So any immigrant coming into Canada, I would say you might have gone through the same phase where when
Sure.
you land and you have limited financial resources, you have to um, worry about yourself, and if you're married, you have to worry about your family, your wife, your kids as well.
Right.
Um, so just to go take a step back about engineering profession, as I said in the beginning, I would like to touch base again.
Right.
Uh, Not all the engineers need to have a PhD title right from the get-go.
Right.
They can get they can get opportunities, they can get job offers without having a PhD title, and they will work under a supervisor
Right.
or a senior engineer who has PhD title, so they
Sure.
can work with him under his belt and utilize his experience.
Right.
Uh, that is a potential opportunity. You don't need to worry about a PhD title from the first day you step into Canada. You can that's an additional bonus. You can work on it while you live here in first couple of few years. Um, so that was just a different note. I just wanted to touch base on that
Sure.
thing. To answer your question on survival, when you have limited financial resources. So when you land into Canada, I heard it from other folks on your channel, on your studio as well, and I think they give very good advice. Is that once you land into Canada as a new immigrant, government has established a very good resources in terms of new immigrant centers where you can go and find out uh, information about your own industry, make connections, and work on a side note while you're working, struggling with your finances.
Right.
Uh, but in the meanwhile, they call it as a transition phase. Transition phase is somewhere between 3 to 6 months. So you need to keep it in mind that you have enough sufficient funds to live for those 3 to 6 months. If you don't have, then you have to work some part-time jobs, working in the stores. I did myself,
Right.
working in as a security, uh, what do they call it, security guard, I would say, or
Yes.
security uh, companies. You know, just for the time being, there's no harm in it. That helps. Even those jobs helps because that enhances your communication skills,
Right.
that enhances your connection. You will come across different people, even working in a store or security agencies, um, and those connections can help you lead your way to getting a job in your profession. So, I mean, most of the time, these transition jobs helps in getting you closer to your goal. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so I totally can relate to that, and one has
Yeah.
to go for it. But on the other hand, if we talk about the state taking the responsibility of their
Mhm.
citizens, if they have hardship in terms of funds or any other matter, they can always approach, and there is no shame in it, basically, because if you are unable to meet your financial needs because you are in transition, for example, or you cannot provide for your family, you can always approach. But of course, that should not be the long term target. Your target should always be to go back to the
Yeah,
work and then maybe utilize it for a short period of time. So
that's
I mean, the concern people usually have, what will I do if I don't get a job? Yeah, I mean, of course, you're working hard.
yeah,
Your target is to secure a job, but
that's
if
right.
it comes to that, that you are unable to provide for, the government is going to be helpful, and that's really, a good thing about Canada. So
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. So basically, if we talk about engineers, to the optimist, they say the glass is half full. To the
Yeah,
pessimist, the glass is half empty. To the engineer, the glass is twice as big as it needs to be. So taking
that's
this into consideration, I'm sure you, as an engineer, you must have the way you are trained intellectually. You must have weighed your decision to immigrate to Canada uh, accurately, and
right.
would you recommend people to first evaluate, research, and determine if Canada is suitable for them as a permanent home, or they
Mm.
just should jump in and then experience it and then decide to maybe regret it?
Uh, Well, no, I think being an engineer, somebody who has an engineering degree, you rightly said, it's not an easy target to be an engineer, first thing, right?
Right.
Uh, there's a lot of hardship and a lot of hard work that engineers go through while they're getting their degrees. So it gives you a very intellectual and critical thinking approach.
Right.
I think you need to weigh your options, you need to weigh your decision making. But Canada, talking about Canada as a country, is a great country. It's full of opportunities. You need to be, as I said, you need to be determined, and you need to have some ambitions. I mean, making an immigration decision, it in itself is a huge decision. When you make that decision, leaving your home country and going through to a new country and establishing yourself from, let's say, again, from starting from the zero level again. So if somebody is going through that decision making process, I believe anybody who has an engineering degree or any professional degree would
Yes.
have assessed his options. Um, Absolutely. Again, you have to weigh your options. You just don't need to jump into without doing your research. And there's we are in a digital world, and today there's a lot of information available on the internet, Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, folks like you who's helping people to immigrate to Canada. I mean, these all resources can help
Sure.
any person making their decision in the right way.
Right. Good answer and very relevant. I think people who are listening, they can benefit from it. But then, as I was discussing with you earlier as well,
Right.
engineers like to solve problems, and if there are no problems handily available, they will create their own problems. So, uh, do you think your decision to immigrate to Canada was a problem you created? And would you think twice before migrating to Canada if you were in a position to go back in time? Is it a decision,
Mhm.
in other words, you regret or you would have?
No, no. In my case, I'm really happy. I think I made the right decision at the right time. I would say if I have made it earlier, like maybe 5 years more earlier, would be even more beneficial. But
Beneficial?
I still think that that was a great decision, a very good decision of my life. I don't regret. I mean, Canada, everybody can research. It's the best place for immigrants to
Right.
come and establish, and it's a welcoming country for anybody from any race, from any religion, from any country to
Right.
come here and establish themselves.
Right. Yeah. Having lived in Canada myself for the last many years, I've seen
Mhm.
people succeed, flourish, and make their mark in their careers. And very rarely I've seen anyone thinking about going back. But it's a question I always place. So it
Right.
reinforces my trust in Canada as well, because every time I ask that question, I am almost certain that the respondent would say it's a good country to live in. I have experienced it myself. You are experiencing it.
Right.
And many more who are watching this show right now would be
Yeah.
convinced that they need to come over. And but I would agree with one advice that you just gave, um,
Mm-hmm.
that you would have actually been in a better position had you come to Canada even earlier. So
Yeah.
maybe younger applicant, younger engineers, if they're
Right.
thinking that maybe they spend more time back home, and then only once they have accumulated sufficient experience, then only they venture Canada, maybe it's a good idea for them to come over here and utilize those years in this country. The sooner you come, the better would it be for you to establish
Yeah.
successfully. So
That's right.
this is wonderful. So coming to Canada early, living here, I've seen a lot of people, they confine themselves to their own communities, and sometimes they have very convincing reasons that the reason why I do that is because I want to remain closer to my culture. Some say even religious regions
Mm.
reasons, and whatnot. What's
Yeah.
your take on it? If you have a message to give to our audience, that when you come to a multicultural country like Canada, what approach should you have in terms of mingling with the local Canadians, rubbing your elbows with them, and making friends with them, or just choose a vicinity where you are comfortable and you are with your own countrymen?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, and you're absolutely right. There are, I mean, I would say most of the time you hear this comment from people who immigrated to Canada that it's always a good option if you get this option to be close to your community. I mean, I somewhat agree with that point, that approach, but this thing should not stop you from moving within Canada. If you're coming to Canada, you consider this as one country, whether you're living in the east or the west or the north or the south. Canada itself is a big country. It's a huge country. It's a huge territory in terms of area,
Right.
and everywhere you have opportunities. I mean, to advise someone, I will never say to stick to a specific location. If you're coming as a new immigrant, be open. Um, be be ready to accept the challenges of living in a multicultural organization, and be ready to mingle with the communities that you don't know, because that's what makes you successful. If you just stick to your own community, I believe that will help. That won't help you in reaching where you want to reach. You need to be ready to get in touch with the local people.
Sure.
Just don't worry. Just don't worry about it. It itself is a kind of racism. If you are trying to stick to a certain community,
Right.
just stay away from these negative thoughts, and try to find some coach or some mentor who can speak like I'm speaking.
Yeah, of course.
you know
Yes.
I heard such things a lot, and I totally discourage this concept of living closer to specific communities. I mean, if you get an opportunity, it's well and good, but if you don't, just don't bind or bound yourself to a specific area or location.
Right. And what a wonderful advice this is, coming from an immigrant who migrated to Canada from Pakistan. And
Right.
he advises that you need to get out there and meet with Canadians and be friendly with them, and don't just confine yourselves to your own community. So,
that's
it broadens your horizon. Otherwise,
that's right.
you remain, your horizon remains narrow. And what's the point in moving to a new country if you were to remain just focused in your own community? By all means do that, of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
but of course there are other people as well, coming from various regions and locally settled people who are ready to welcome you. On that note, I would like to ask a quick question about the attitude of Canadians uh, toward immigrants in general. Are they welcoming? Are they warm-hearted? What are they? Tell us.
In general, in my experience over the past 4 years, I have never seen, I would not say I've never seen, but I would say 99% of the time, or 99% of the public
Yes.
are welcoming, are encouraging, are supporting, and they will never let you down. Uh, there are maybe just percentage of the cases or incidents where that you will hear from people, but I mean, you have to look at the bigger picture. So just don't think about those 1% or maybe 0.5% of the people. Just
Yes.
look at the bigger picture. Canada is a welcoming country, and they love immigrants, and this country is made of immigrants basically. If you go back to the history, it's hard to find a native person. They're
Sure.
all immigrants, right?
So who is going to discriminate against the other when everyone is immigrant? And
That's
this is one country that recognizes, the people recognize that. Otherwise, of course, there are other countries as well
yeah,
where those people are immigrant, but they still discriminate against people who are coming now. So
that's right.
Canada, at least, and they're sensitive to your beliefs,
Yeah,
your point of view, but
yeah,
they all get along. Um,
yeah.
they have different views and different skin color, but they do understand that. So this is
Absolutely. They're very open. They're very broad minded people. I mean, while for myself, born and raised in Pakistan, I mean, our thinking and approaches back in our home country is totally different.
Yes.
I mean, our thinking is totally different. But when you talk about these people here, they are really open. They don't care what race you belong to or what faith you belong to. Um, they just treat you as a human being. That's it.
Right. It's a dream come true when you immigrate to Canada. A lot of people desire that, but yes, some are
That's
fortunate that they get selected, they come here, and then they make their mark here. So, as an
yeah,
engineer, you serve mankind by
yeah,
making dreams come true, and you did make
absolutely.
your dream to immigrate to Canada come true. What would you
Yeah.
like to say to our audience in closing? Any tip, any advice, anything important that can help them in establishing themselves successfully here easily and quickly? um, Anything in terms of mindset, anything in terms of approach? What would you like to say so that people can benefit?
Uh, well, I would definitely encourage people to stay positive. There are times when I will just give an analogy like you're living in your, let's say, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, I mean, wherever you are. But even within your own country where you're born and raised, if you move from one city to another city, uh, it's your, it's the country where you're born and raised. But if you move, let's say, from one main city to another city, you will find the first couple of months challenging to establish yourself, even in those situations. So while you're coming to a new country, like in Canada, that's entirely new country, um, new people, another language, all these challenges. Keep those challenges in your mind. Be ready to face those challenges. Try to enjoy those challenges and learn from those challenges. Come with a positive mindset. Uh, Stay away from negative. Try to stay away from negative people who were, you know, I would say who couldn't try to succeed due to any reason.
Right.
I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be picky here, but what
Right.
I'm saying is the message is to stay positive. Um, and if ever you feel you have a negativity or you're feeling down, there's a lot of help in the community. You can reach out to anybody, and everybody is willing to help. Again, because everybody has gone through that process. Everybody can understand the pain that you are going through in the first couple of months. Um, so be positive and look for your goals. Keep the goals in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, can't agree more on that. This is wonderful advice coming from Wajid Ali, who is an immigrant to Canada from Pakistan, and he shared with us his ideas, his experience with us, and I'm sure audience who have watched this will benefit from it. And I'm really thankful, Wajid, for sparing your precious time for our audience. You are uh, really walking the Canadian way of giving back to the community. And right now, you're giving back to all those people who are interested in immigrating to Canada so that they can benefit from your advice. Thank you very much. And it has been a pleasure having you on our show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, Amir. Anytime, and it was nice talking to you. I wish anybody's watching this program. I wish them all the success in their cases, in their immigration processes, and I hope that those people will make this country great.
Thank you very much, Wajid. Take care.
Thanks. Take care. Good night.
So this was Wajid Ali from Toronto, Canada, a professional engineer who immigrated to Canada from Pakistan, and he was sharing with us his success, and he was sharing the tips and suggestions for, especially for professional engineers who wish to make Canada their home. From Toronto, Canada, I wish all of you goodbye, and I look forward to connecting with you in another show. Until then, best of luck.